further ado, the chairman of the Coalition of the Hampshire Taxpayers, Ed Naile.
Thanks, Rich. Thank you, Rich, for coming in here and emceeing this for the umpteenth time. We've been doing this cookout for a long time. The first one we ever did was at the Hopkinton State Fairgrounds, and we sold 1,500 tickets a week or so in advance. And the Boston Globe called me, and they said, "Did you really sell 1,500 tickets?" And I said, "Yes, we did." And they said, "Well, they didn't believe it." And I said, "Well, come on out." So they sent a reporter out, and there's all the cars. I said, I found her. I said, "Why don't we take a little walk together and we'll see all the out-of-state plates?" No, I'm not interested in that. I said, "Why don't we walk around to the tables and see how many people know me if you think everybody's from out-of-state?" No, we don't need to do that. So she did an article and said, the beginning of the article was, "At the Hopkinton State Fair, the extreme right of the extreme right munched on hamburgers." Well, we had shish kebab, I'm telling you. We didn't have hamburgers, we had shish kebab. Under the scruffy pines. I climbed those pines and pruned the dead trees. They're all 100 feet tall. Because we were having Pat Buchanan was there, and a bunch of people. It was great. So we went from there. We had a good director at the Hopkinton Fair that worked with us. And they got a new director that didn't respect the Second Amendment, so we moved on to the American Legion in Hillsborough. And that was fabulous. They have a kitchen where you could cook. I guess you all remember that if you've been there. And they had a gas grill we could use. They had an ice machine. We could shovel all the ice we wanted all day long. And they got a new director who didn't respect the Second Amendment, so now we're here. So gradually we're moving around as we get asked to leave or forced to leave places. So we're still at it. We're going to stay at it as long as we can. So we don't have a kitchen here, so we're doing the subs and hot dogs. The sandwiches are from the Stuffed Sub in Manchester. If you like them, the guy's very proud of them. He made them up for us, talked him into it, and he's been very good to work with. It's sometimes hard to find when you do these kind of events. Hard to find people to work with. I let it be known that I was going to talk a little bit about voter fraud. So if you want to listen up about voter fraud, here's what I know. The left in this country cannot do anything other than say there is no voter fraud, and any turn on that phrase. We've never seen voter fraud, or you can't prove it to me. Well, I've been at this, and CNHT started this in 2000. We started documenting voter fraud, and as you all know, the first thing we caught was a busload of people from out of state voting in Bear Brook Park. And thank you to Harriet Cady for giving us that tip. We've been flogging that horse since 2000 when we caught that. In 2008, Bill Gardner himself admitted that the AmeriCorps was in, and that's what it was, AmeriCorps, was in his ward in Manchester doing the same thing. Am I getting feedback? Oh, okay. Wow. I think the Russians just hacked our cookout. I'll have to call Leon Panetta or somebody. So we got that, and Bill Gardner actually had AmeriCorps people come in and try and vote in his, well, he did vote in his ward. And then we had Pat Long on Rich Gerard's show admitted he chased 13 people from Ringe out of his ward in Manchester in this 2016. So they had driven from Ringe to Manchester to vote, about a dozen people. And when Representative Pat Long spotted that, he said, "Well, how many people are here from Ringe?" And he said a dozen or so raised their hands. He said, "You can't vote here. You have to go back and vote where you're from." It's 40 miles from Ringe to Manchester. Now, I don't know if they took a bus, but they got there somehow, maybe camels or sled dogs or something. But they showed up en masse, unafraid, to steal our votes in Manchester. So that's a fact. They do this, and we've been tracking them at CNHT. We've been tracking them and putting names to them for a long time. So if I catch you voting in our state, and I think I got a good catch, your name is going to get used. So I've actually had people call me up and say, "Would you please stop using my name? I'm trying to get a job." And one guy, and we had, well, I think I was at Diane Gilbert. Diane Gilbert, you're here, right? I was at one of Diane Gilbert's events, and we thought we had somebody, Louise Ann Fontaine. And when I finally checked, I couldn't announce that we caught Louise Ann Fontaine at Diane Gilbert's event, but I can announce that now, that we caught her. She was registered to vote in Pinellas County in Florida since 1989, and she's been voting here in New Hampshire probably for a decade. And the reason, you know how I caught Louise Ann Fontaine voting in Florida and voting in New Hampshire? Good old Rich Gerard. Rich Gerard ran for school committee, and he got 30 returns on requests for absentee ballots. And he goes, hey, you want to look at these? I said, yeah, I'll take them home, run them through my little system I have. I've created over 20 years of this. And he gave me the original envelopes, right, Rich? I took the 30 envelopes, and about 7 or 8 names in, up comes Louise Ann Fontaine. So Louise has an apartment in a mobile home in Florida, and she lives in an apartment in Manchester. And the same person owns both of those and the same phone numbers. So I can pretty much announce that we caught Louise Ann Fontaine. I went in to prove it, to get some documents from Manchester's city clerk. And when I got there, they said, we heard on the radio. And the next time I went in, they said, Florida had called us already. So you don't see this in the news. Every time we catch somebody, you're not going to see this in the papers. You're going to see there is no voter fraud. Almost every article about voter fraud mentions at least 5 times, there is none, no proof, whatever. That's just a bold-faced lie. Well, right now, this is a unique opportunity in American history, political history, is coming up. President Trump has appointed this Vice President, Mike Pence of Indiana, to be his lead on the Voter Integrity Project, let's call it, commission. And they has picked Chris Kobach, the Secretary of State of Kansas, who is known for hunting down voter fraud and trying to stop it. He's the guy that created the Interstate Cross-Check Program, which New Hampshire joined. And thank goodness. Bill Gardner put us in there. There's only 27 states, but the numbers are revealing. We have, just from that single in 27 states that the Interstate Cross-Check Program was matched with, in Massachusetts alone, there are 40,000 people registered to vote in Massachusetts and in New Hampshire at the same time. And I'm pretty sure quite a few of them are voting here and keeping their registration in Massachusetts. The fun part about having the Interstate Cross-Check Program and the states involved, when you say Virginia or when you say Indiana, pick a state, I can pretty much name someone we caught from that state. Like Missouri, we caught Caitlin Ann Legacki voting in Manchester, New Hampshire in November of 2012, and she voted in Missouri, same day. She voted both places, Caitlin Ann Legacki. We caught her both places. We got video of her. Yeah, Granite Rock posted the video, and these guys have been posting this stuff for years. If you want to know about voter fraud and you want to see some pictures, obviously our website has photographs of some of the offenders, and then Granite Rock has been religiously pounding this as much as Rich has on the radio. Like, we're the repository for this stuff. When I call other states, they go, you're the guy who caught so-and-so. And that so-and-so is usually Elena Biden. And Elena Biden, we caught Elena Biden, that's the vice president's niece. That vote thief was voting in Manchester at a known voter fraud residence, where we caught Caitlin Ann Legacki. And we just caught somebody else, Mashira Akina Davis, 2016. She came out of Detroit. She came to Manchester. She stayed in a known voter fraud nest that still operates. She voted here, and I'm gonna explain to you what is at stake. So since Donald Trump, President Trump, has started this commission, he has put people on it like Chris Kobach, and the vice president is in charge. He also put Ken Blackwell on this committee. Ken Blackwell is a former Secretary of State of raining hard. Okay. Hey everybody, it's raining like the dickens outside if your windows are open, or if you left something paper on the roof of your car, or your cell phone, like I have done in the past. So he put Ken Blackwell. Ken Blackwell was the former Secretary of State of Ohio. Ken Blackwell does not back down. He's been accused of all kinds of things. You know, voters, racism, voter suppression, you name it. Ken Blackwell is in to win this thing. Another person that's on that committee is Mike Phelan, the head of the Republican Lawyers Association. I met him at Grover Norquist's meeting in 2001. He's a serious individual. And the guy they just put on, the most recent one, is a guy named Hans von Spakovsky. This guy works for the Heritage Foundation, and he is an anti-voter fraud, expert beyond compare. These guys know exactly what they're looking for. They're not going to get a bait and switch. They're not going to be afraid of being called names. And often when I send out an email or get an email back, they're on that email list. So they see what I send out from New Hampshire. I've been working with the guys in Virginia, in North Carolina, and a couple other states. And I was on a 4.5-hour phone call a couple weeks ago with a new group that's forming nationally, like a voter integrity group, that's linked up with the guys that have been working in the states. I got to meet the voter fraud people from California, Florida, Ohio, Texas. We're going to have a bunch of them. There's 13 states so far, and it's growing. So we're going to be giving the President Trump's Voter Fraud Commission information. We're going to testify, and we're not going to put together a great big fat manual and hand it over and have it thrown in the dumpster. We're going to get an opportunity to go testify, and there's no way they can stop us from testifying because you're not going to hear anything. You're going to hear it from people who have actually been doing this. And I'm excited about it because, you know, when you see these commissions get put together, a lot of times they put people on that are going to stifle something. These guys have no interest of being made fools of. So I'm very happy to see that. I'm impressed with who he's picked so far. And there's some other guy, Bill Gardner's on it. It's like a placeholder. I'm not too concerned about that. But it is a good time to check this out. Now, what happens when you have experts looking at this? You get a big picture, not just so-and-so got caught doing this and they might prosecute or that drifts away. We had recently 2 prosecutions that really opened the door into how voter fraud works nationally. One is in Harrisonburg Votes, Virginia, a young man, 20-year-old college student named Andrew Spiles. He got caught registering 18 or 19 dead people or people under the age, whatever. He got caught by the FBI. Now, he was investigated by the FBI. He got caught last October when someone else was president. He got prosecuted in June when someone else was president. So the FBI went and they took testimony, which I have here, 4 or 5 pages of testimony, and Andrew Spiles says, it was me alone. Andrew Spiles, this 20-year-old punk, figured out a way to change Social Security numbers and birth dates and middle initials and get those on the voter list in Virginia until he registered a brother of a judge that somebody at the county official recognized. So he got caught. But he says, it was me. I was the one that did it. He's going to serve 120 days in jail. Okay, so there you go. In the FBI statement of facts, it says that young Andrew was registering dead people and helping other people do this, and that he had made notations on those documents when he sent them to a place called VAN. That's the D.C. organization that's been collecting this information. So if you're wondering why Republicans are getting stomped on the national elections, like here in New Hampshire, they have VAN working for them. It's actually NGP VAN. They just called it VAN there. So, okay, there's your link. That's what he was doing. This young kid, he takes the fall. About the same time in Indiana, of all places, the Indiana Votes, this new organization, comes to town, and they're going to register people, walk around in black neighborhoods. They targeted black neighborhoods. So it's a little bit like racist, isn't it? So they're going around, they're going to register this person, register that person. Well, 12 of them get caught and arrested. 11 of them are just young kids that were out making, $5 a name. Okay, so they all plead guilty. And I'm looking them up on the internet. He's a football star. This one, you can't find anything, just a young person. But the person who pled guilty, when the Indiana State Police barged into the headquarters of Indiana Votes, they barged in the back door. The front door's locked. Okay, so they set up a shop to register people to vote in a storefront in a mall, but we use the back door. It must be more convenient to do that, right? So the person in charge says she's in charge is Holiday Burke. I have about 15 pages that the Indiana State Police put together a statement of facts before the arrest. This is what I confess to. Okay, so Holiday Burke. So I posted a picture of Holiday Burke after the arrest on the internet, and she was kind of a heavy young lady with multicolored hair. But in the police reports, it says when Holiday Burke turned over her names to the county to be registered, she was a young, thin blonde with straight hair. So I look up Holiday Burke. I have 3 Holiday Burkes with 3 different birth dates, all the same phone number. Kind of odd, isn't it? So when the Indiana State Police came busting in and said, you're all, put your hands up, put your cell phones down, and close your laptops. I want to call my lawyer. State Police said, you're not calling anybody. We're taking your phone. They checked who they called. They checked the computers. Some of the back and forth between Van and Holiday Burke is now public record. I can read it. The other interesting thing about this was that they were all paid by an outfit called Block by Block. You ever hear of Block by Block? Probably haven't, because they have almost zero internet presence. So Block by Block. So here's who was paying them. Here's who they're connected with in D.C., and they're sending all their data into Van. And they're registering dead people and altering things, same type of deal. So you look up Block by Block, and up comes this race in New Jersey. Some young guy's running for, I think, Congress or some seat, and he spent $50,000 paying Block by Block, and a local reporter says, who's Block by Block? I can't find out who they are. I'm looking for this, looking for that. I got nothing on these people. So, turns out, they're another storefront somewhere. They're associated with 5 or 6 other of these groups that come and go and come and go. Now, if you're going to do a decent job, and I was testifying to Mike Pence and these guys, Hans von Wachowski and the rest of these guys, I would say maybe it's time that when you catch these people who say they're in charge of collecting these names and say they're the person that they're doing this all on their own, maybe you should check out who's paying them. And you could get a little thing called conspiracy to commit voter fraud. Because when you have people say, oh, I plead guilty, I'm the one that did this, you could take the next logical step. If they do this, this shuts down one of the biggest corrupt operations in the United States political history. This thing, right now they're saying, oh, we can't turn over our information to President Trump's commission. All the secret data is on there. Andrew Spiles, that little punk from Virginia, that got caught with making up 18 dead people's names and putting them on there, he started in 2015. He alone collected 2,000 names. Andrew Spiles had the complete Social Security number of every single person. So the Democrats are very concerned that, if Bill Gardner sends our information into the commission, why anybody could get it. But they'll happily give it to Andrew Spiles and Holiday Burke, one of the 3 Holiday Burkes. So this is where we're at. This is a golden opportunity to get involved in this and make sure your elected officials know you want something done. All the stars are aligned on voter fraud. These people do not want to back down. They want to prove what we have the problem we have. And all the Democrats have, you know what? This issue is like a 70% issue. A lot of Democrats that are veterans and good, rock-solid, blue dog Democrats don't like voter fraud. Don't like it at all. This is a golden opportunity to see the progressives that have taken over the Democrat Party get booted out. And we go back to having arguments with people you can have an argument with, Not we sell out everything we have to the progressives because they're running a Democrat Party and Democrats are voting along with them. Voter fraud is an issue which can divide the left and expose the people who have been doing this for a long time. And Mashira Akina Davis, she's a supervisor at NGP Van. That's why she's at that house of the lobbyist that lives in Manchester and lets Elena Biden and the rest of these people go from his house, and no one prosecutes them. So that's it. There's a connection here. Oh, here's the fun part. Holiday Burke has a list of phone numbers, has a list of different birth dates, has a list of phone numbers. One of them has a 603 prefix. But she's not known as Holiday Burke here in New Hampshire. She's got a different name. I got a question, Donna.
What's Van? Tell us what you know about Van.
NGP Van is a large, like Catalyst. It's a large data mining voter organization. It collects information on voters and puts algorithms in. Like, you're buying country western albums, and you're going to church 3 times a week. Let's not send you any information. Let's go to the guy that goes hiking somewhere, college students from a certain college. They analyze their voter database like crazy. A lot of you people hand over stuff after an election, say, look at all the returns I got. The Democrats aren't getting them. I repeatedly hear people like Timothy Horrigan. Oh, I only get a handful of returns. That's funny. Who is it? Phyllis Woods. Stacks of them like this when she only mails the Republicans. The lists the Republicans have are just old lists. They're not cleaned up and laser beam on. Now remember, Andrew Spiles was sending in at least 18 dead people's registrations and noting on them to NGP Van. The guy we caught, here's one we caught. Thank you to, well, I guess I don't want to put him in jeopardy. But somebody tips us off that a guy was arrested in Hooksett on Election Day. So I did a little background search on him. This guy's name is Michael LaShawn Lewis. Goes into Hooksett and votes at 7 o'clock. Have you guys heard this one? All right, Michael LaShawn Lewis walks in to Hooksett to vote at 7 o'clock. Moderator says, 7 o'clock. He goes, oh, I was here. All right, fine, we'll let you vote. Let's see your ID. I don't have a driver's license, but I have the number for my Florida driver's license. He has the number from his Florida driver's license, but doesn't have the driver's license. All right? Okay, we're going to let you vote. Take the picture. I'm going to take a picture of the guy. It probably looks like the picture I have of him from his mug shot from a robbery. So there we are. Now I have his name. He gets arrested out in the parking lot right after he votes for rifling through cars. I got his birth date. I got the license plate number of his Massachusetts registered car. So when you say you go up to vote and there's these Massachusetts plates, oh, they're all people from New Hampshire. Michael LaShawn Lewis wasn't from New Hampshire. He was driving a rental car to New Hampshire from the airport to steal a vote in Hooksett at exactly 7 o'clock. I'm wondering, where was Michael LaShawn Lewis arrested today? He told the police that he came from Florida. So I track him down. He gave a fake address in Miami. The address was the Salvation Army. I track him down some of the address. He actually lives in Miami Beach, where he's a registered voter, and he voted early in 2016, I think on October 12th. On October 11th, he voted in Atlanta, Georgia, where he has a criminal record. He was a felon from there. So he's used early voting to steal 2 votes, one in Georgia and one in Florida. And then somehow he told the police he flew here from Miami, rented a car, and came to Hooksett to vote. So how do you rent a car and fly here from Miami without your driver's license? So I'm waiting for Michael LaShawn Lewis. He was arrested for not having a driver's license. He was supposed to show up in December in district court, and I'm down there waiting for him. He never showed up. The police said, well, if they're 3, 4, 5 states away, we don't bother tracking them down. So right now, Michael LaShawn Lewis got 3 votes in 2016. Georgia just had a hot election. I'm going to see if he was involved in that. I have to let that grind a little bit. I notified the officials in Florida, and Hooksett knows. But that would be a golden opportunity if somebody was to arrest him and say, what happened? Who paid for the rental car? Or where did you get the rental car without a driver's license? Whose driver's license did you use? And the number that you gave us, I looked it up. In Florida, I can look up a Florida driver's license number, but I can't see the picture. You want to bet it's somebody else's picture on that driver's license? So voter fraud happens. It's sophisticated. It happens regularly, and they're bolder and bolder every time. There's a reporter in Concord, Tony Shinella, and he was, I think during the primary, somebody from the Hillary campaign, a guy named Charles Thuma IV. Does that sound right, Rich? Walks in and says, hi, I'm with the Hillary campaign. We're looking for Democrat voters. Tony says, well, I'm not a Democrat, my wife is. You're looking for her. And so what are you doing? He goes, I'm working for Hillary. Just left Iowa. I'm stationed in New Hampshire now. Oh, really? Yeah, I voted out there. And Tony said, you voted in Iowa? Yeah. Where are you from? From the same town Tony Chanel's from in Massachusetts. He goes, you can't vote out there. He goes, you better not vote here. You'll get caught. And he says, we're well aware of Mr. Naile. Isn't that sweet, right? So at least I had that effect. So he didn't vote here. We tracked him down. He was working for Hillary, staying someplace. He had an apartment. It'd be nice to see who paid for the apartment. But since we don't arrest him, we don't get the facts. I'm thinking there's going to be a lot more activity. Like when you set up a phony storefront to register black people and dead people, you pick the minorities to cheat like this in Mike Pence's state. That's how bold they are. The more arrests we see, the more information we're going to get, and I couldn't be more encouraged after almost 20 years of doing this. I think I started in 1996. Another question?
Yes. Who is funding this ban?
NGP van, some of them pay. They pay for the list. And
who's funding the operation itself? Is it Soros' money?
well, the one guy we caught, Carl Robert Gibson, who was supposed to be awaiting trial here, he was paid by Credo PAC. That's a left-wing PAC in San Francisco. They paid him, and he just got into a federal lawsuit with some guys over a website, and I'm getting a lot more information out of that. But they're paid by PACs, and by
Where does the
wealthy
trail-
businessmen.
Do you have any idea where the trail actually ends? I mean,
Uh,
these PACs are all funded by someone.
They just skip around. Those guys never get bagged. So the Indiana State Police pick up Holiday Burke. What do they have? Some loser that was in the office and said, yeah, it was me. All the other people in the office, there's some names in the arrest record. There's some names of people from D.C. They didn't get arrested. They just, whoop. She's the one that said, oh, it was me. She took the fall, just like Spiles. And Spiles didn't invent Harrisonburg votes. The Democrat Party put that together, and the people in D.C. put that together. We got to get the guys. There's a handful of people in D.C. that run this, and that's who should be drug in here. We tracked them. A lot of them voted here. The ones that were running Shaheen's campaign and working for Hillary back in 2012, they were here, and they're out of Georgetown University, a bunch of friends, and almost all of them voted here, and they all have addresses in D.C. Vote thieves, and I put their names on the internet. Those guys are pros. No one goes after them, but we're going to see. I can't believe we're not going to see more arrests, and more arrests are going to lead to more information. More information is going to benefit us.
Why are the sentences so light for this?
A lot of the voter frauds penalties in the different states are pretty weak. Because you'll talk to somebody that's, I think the guys in North Carolina said, you'll get a longer sentence from stealing someone's pine mulch than you will for voter fraud. I guess they use pine tree mulch down there. But any other questions? It's a complicated issue. Rich Gerard covers it. Our CNHT website has pictures, and we're always doing stories. If you join, you'll get our updates from Jane. She sends out whatever I have. And Granite Rock, Tony Chanella, Concord Patch, he does a fabulous job on this, and he goes and confronts Bill Gardner. Yep, in the back.
Ed, any chance that they were going to revisit the facilitation of voter fraud by a certain Seacoast state senator?
Yeah, what happened with Martha Full of voter fraud? Her place, she had up to 8 different people voting out of her house. And the AG's office, this was, Foster, but the guy that actually was doing it was Steve Labonte, was the fumbling moron of an AG, assistant AG. He went down there, and what he said was, those people had established a presence. Now, you have to establish a domicile. So he basically let them go. And one of them was, here's how you catch them. One of them was an attorney named Brian Gregory Griffith. He's an attorney in Arkansas. Arkansas has an income tax. So once he's voted here and left, he has to file his income taxes. He can't tell Arkansas, oh yeah, for 4 months I established a presence at Martha Fuller Clark's house. They're going to go pay up, because that's where his kids would go to school. That's where he's a member of the bar. His car is registered, his driver's license. Facts are facts. We pretend like domicile doesn't mean domicile. We pretend that facts don't mean anything. Domicile is measured by the facts involved. Like, where did you pay your income taxes? So anytime I catch somebody with an income tax state, that's what I really bear down, because I know if they call me, like some of these people have called, and they'll say, have your parents hire an attorney and we'll do discovery. Go back and ask your dad what discovery is, and then they never call back.
This time it's coming from outside. There's no vested interest in sweeping it under. There's an actual interest in proving that the voter fraud is happening. Because those statements were made a lot elected. And let's hope, and if you use your connections to make sure they know, to look at it from the outside, get some sunshine on it. It'd be great to have a New Hampshire state senator indicted.
Yeah. Or the organization that helps them win. Right. Like, there goes my database. There goes Catalyst. There goes the NBG event. One other thing is, I wasn't focused at all on the legislation here in New Hampshire. Election Law Committee put a lot of work in passing a bill. I'm concerned about the federal. It's called U.S. Code 52, and it's Chapter 2, like 207, 209, 03. Any election official of any state shall comply with a written request of the U.S. Attorney General or his representative regarding an election of federal officers. Real easy to remember. I know Jeff Sessions knows what it means. And all he has to do is say, that commission is my representative. Trump appoints Sessions, right? Trump appoints the commission. They have an interest in getting the information. This is not tough to do. And it's a golden opportunity. We can't sit back and be confused because they say, oh, you can't prove it to me.
Excellent.